All right, so welcome to the next episode of Chalkbowl Conversations. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, these conversations are with people in the gymnastics world who have something interesting to say, and the idea is that gymnasts always say what they really think when they're standing around the chalk bowl. So hopefully we can get under the surface a little bit and find out what's going on. So today's guest is none other than Olympic bronze medalist Dylan Schmidt. Hello, Dylan.
Hello, how we going?
Yeah, good man. So Dylan was an age group world champion. That's right, eh?
Yeah,
Youth Olympic
back in the day.
champion, World Cup medalist
Yes.
as a senior,
Yeah.
2 times Olympian, and now Olympic bronze medalist. So welcome to, can I say welcome to the show? It's not even a show. Welcome.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to my home. That's probably closer to reality. DIY
Yeah.
interviewing anyway. How are you?
Welcome to my home. It's probably not going to be a
Yeah, we get it. You're
Yeah.
staying in the sweetest location while we're all stuck in the city.
Yeah.
That's the Olympic life, right?
Yeah. Very privileged. Yeah. Just had to wave my bronze medal on entry and got in.
Nice. So you would have gone from, I guess, COVID restricted Tokyo through to 2 weeks in MIQ, a day out, and then straight into lockdown, yeah?
Yeah, well, pretty much same as you, David. Yep. Same as you, mate.
So how have you been keeping
We all
yourself
did it.
busy since then?
Yeah. Well, obviously I'm not at home. I'm at my good friend's family farm out by Clevedon. So Nelson's family, Nelson McCullum, used to do trampolining with me. We used to be synchro partners, and that's how we met. But yeah, now I'm out at his family home, and I'm just working for their business, their oyster farm, when I'm needed,
Nice.
pottering around and just doing, yeah, just sort of just enjoying it and
Keeping active,
just
having a
chilling.
break from the trampoline.
Yeah, yeah. I've got on the backyard jump a couple of times, just to keep the body moving, but yeah, we're slowly getting back into some more structured exercise.
Yeah. Is Angie sending you conditioning programs? I bet she is.
No, I'm sort of big enough and ugly enough to do that myself. And I've got my S&C coaches that I work with anyway, so I've just been talking to them a little bit, and then just doing just kind of going with the flow out here, and yeah, but,
No.
it's been all right. It's been good. The weathers are getting better now, so it's quite nice.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, well, let's kick it off. So the first segment in this little chat is one called Best Worst. So I'm going to ask
hmm
you some quick fire questions about your favorite things, your least favorite things, and you just have to give me a quick answer. So there's no wrong
I'll
answer,
do my best.
so don't feel any, high performance competitive pressure right now. There's no failing this,
Yeah,
unless you sound like Meg, and then maybe there is.
not at uni anymore, so
All right, okay, we'll start with best. So, best cafe menu item.
oh, it's got to be eggs Benedict.
You and Misha are the same.
Oh,
What's
really?
your favorite music to work out to, if you have one?
Just a random workout playlist I'll find. I don't have anything specific. More upbeat sort of
Yep.
stuff. Yeah.
Favorite trampolinist of all time?
Favorite. Oh, I love Dong Dong. He's
Dong
pretty
Dong.
cool.
Best name too.
Yeah.
Uh,
Best name.
what's the favorite skill that you do in your repertoire?
I enjoy doing Miller Plus. It's a bit of fun. Gets the
What's a
heart going.
what's a Miller Plus? For all us
Oh, it's
artistic
like a
people that
Miller
have no
with
idea. What's a Miller?
like a Miller. Don't you guys do them on Florida?
We don't
Simone
call
does
it a
one,
Miller.
doesn't she? Um,
We just
a
describe
Miller
how
Plus
many
is a quad
somersaults.
twisting. Miller Plus is quad twisting double back straight.
4 twists,
I think.
2 stretch
Yeah, 4
somersaults.
twists, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It's like full, it's a full, but with an extra 2
Yeah.
full
Plus.
turns at the end of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Favorite holiday location?
Anywhere in New Zealand, national forests,
The bush.
the bush.
Nice.
Or
What?
if it has to be overseas, it's probably Portugal.
Yeah.
Mm.
Favorite competition ever? Or experience?
Oh, it's got to be 2017. No, was it 2017? When was the Rugby World Cup? 2015 Lule World Cup.
Yeah. Why is that?
That was good. Me and Kieran won a silver medal in Synchro,
Nice.
which was pretty cool. And it was kind of the last year that Kieran was training and competing with me. And the World Cup was the final of our silver medal. So
Yeah.
we won the medal, turned off, watched the final, made it back in time for syrup for prize giving within like 2 minutes. We almost missed prize giving because of the World Cup final, but we managed to get on the podium, so it was pretty cool. It
Nice.
was a fun day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sounds like it.
good memories.
Favorite life hack?
Oh, favorite life hack. Um,
You wish you'd
I
read
don't
the
really know.
questions now, don't you?
Yeah, I don't really. Well, I probably do use life hacks, but just duct tape probably.
Duct tape everything. All right.
Mm.
And what's the best piece of advice you've been given?
The best piece of advice,
Yeah, pick one.
it's a tough one. Um, Probably that you're more than um, like you're more than your sport. You've got your own identity, and that's more important than anything.
Yeah, awesome. All right, let's get on to the juicy stuff now. What's your least favorite cafe menu item?
Anything salted caramel.
Really? What's
Yeah,
wrong
I
with you?
hate salted caramel.
It's so
I
good.
just don't like it. No.
What's the worst injury you've had?
My knee um, injury. Yep. ACL, LCL, posterolateral corner, the whole 9 yards, stuff like that. That was pretty bad.
That's a lot of letters. That must have been bad.
Yep. Yep.
So I guess my next question, it might have already been answered. What was your worst crash in the gym?
Probably wasn't that, to be honest.
Yeah,
That was just a bit of a freak crash. But my
yeah.
worst crash, um, I've had a pretty bad one where I just came right off the tramp, um, like clipped the side of the bar and then didn't like really hurt myself. I think I had some bruising, but
Mm,
and then landed on my back. That was pretty and winded myself. That was pretty bad. Probably my worst crash.
mm.
Didn't get a
Scary.
bad injury, but it was scary
Yeah,
and it looked bad.
it was the worst for everybody else watching.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. What's your least favorite conditioning exercise?
Holds with legs,
What do you mean holding your legs?
like
Not like
like
this, I'm imagining.
anything where you have to stay static and hold it for a long period of time, like like an L sit where you just have to
Oh,
hold
yeah,
it. Like I like to move.
yeah,
I hate just like static holds,
yeah.
even though they're probably good for you.
Fair enough. What was your least favorite subject at school?
English,
Oh, you seem to have mastered it.
maybe the speaking, but not the writing.
What was your least, or has been your least favorite code of points update? Do they call it a code of points in Tramp?
Yeah, yeah. Least favorite code of points update. Um, I don't know. I'm a bit unsure on whether I like um the set being taken out. I think it's probably my least favorite. I think the set, as much as I don't really like doing the routine, I do think it's a part of the sport that is quite nice. And for us, it's a bit weird now that it's gone. So probably the least favorite would be getting rid of the set routine.
For those who are not trampoline
Yeah,
terminology familiar, what's a set?
it's like the first routine we do, like the easy one, where we've only got a few skills that are counted for difficulty, and you'll see most of the guys do like a one to their stomach, and then just do lots of singles and easy stuff,
Mm.
and then do a few hard skills at the end or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that whole routine's been taken out, so we only do our our big finals, well, our voluntary routine now, and we get two chances in the prelims instead of doing a set interval, and the best one counts. Well,
So,
I quite like that, but I'm not sure. Yeah, but taking out the set altogether,
mm,
yeah, I don't know. I might warm up to it, but at the moment, yeah, I was when we found out, we were a bit upset. But it's only for seniors actually, so the juniors still have to do it, which is I think is important.
mm. Oh, awesome. And last one, what's the most annoying thing that people do, or thing that annoys you the most
In general,
in general?
um, saying that you don't have time, that really pisses me off because there's always time. There's always time. Yeah,
All right.
I won't go any further.
Yeah, I don't want any personal examples. We're
Yeah, you
not
don't want any personal
planning on
examples? No,
outing
okay.
anybody here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I mean, you've just come back from Tokyo, obviously, and you won a bronze medal, which was so epic to watch. Um, I mean, describe that feeling for you because you've been training towards this
Mm,
as an outcome for a long time.
mm.
In that moment when you realized you'd won bronze medal, what was that like for you?
It was yeah, it was sort of overwhelming because there'd been such a big build up, so many um so many things had happened in the last, 6 to 12 months that were stressful, and it was quite hard um to keep that focus on the one day that I had to perform, or the one, couple of hours that I was going to be
Yeah,
competing. So it's just a really big, intense sort of physical and emotional build up. But then when I got to the comp day, and then after I finished my routine, um, I was just happy with the performance. I still was, yeah, a bit. Thought the score was a bit low. I thought it was going to be a little bit higher,
mm,
but I was still happy with it, and I was happy with the routine, and I knew that made a little error, but it wasn't major, so I knew I had a chance. Um, so I was just sort of sitting there waiting. There was only a few of us because I was fourth into the final, so there's only three more people after me.
mm.
And after my routine, I was sitting second, so I knew that I was either going to be fourth
Oh,
or fourth, third, or second.
yeah,
So I was just, yeah, um, sort of honestly was like, nah, I don't think I've done enough. Sitting there, like, hopefully it goes my way this time, but
mm,
we'll just see. And then yeah, when Vlad finished and it was only point 0.1 below me, and I stayed in second, and I knew that I was, on the podium. It
yeah,
was pretty pretty incredible. All I remember is just putting my head in my hands and just
yeah.
trying not to cry, pretty much. And and then I just was a bit. Oh, well, I went up and I was stoked, happy.
Yeah,
Then I sort
yeah,
of hit me that I'd got a
yeah.
medal at the Olympics,
Yeah.
and then I sort of better calm down and let Ivan go. And then after Ivan competes, then we can hug and do all that sort of stuff. So it was all just
It's
a
very
mix, all
considerate of
mix
you.
of, yeah, all a mix of emotions all at once. And then Vlad came up to me, the who who just competed and ended up coming fourth, the 2016 Olympic champion,
Mm,
and congratulated me and was genuinely happy for me. And it was a pretty cool moment. And then yeah, after Ivan competed, it was just I just sort of let it sink in and just enjoyed it. Enjoyed the hard work that I put into it, and it almost felt like it wasn't a surprise when I got it. I was obviously stoked, but I knew I'd earned it, and I knew I was good enough, and I knew that, yeah, it felt normal that I'd won the medal. It didn't feel weird or special. Well, it felt special, but it didn't feel weird. It just felt
yeah.
like where I was supposed to be. So But yeah, it's hard to explain. It's hard to put it into words, the
Yeah.
feelings you go through.
Yeah. I suppose it's such a big moment where uh, to describe, like years and
Mm.
years worth of
There's so much going on.
effort and
Yeah,
backstory into that one moment.
yeah,
I just as you mentioned that, I remember you making a comment to me when we were over in Tokyo that it almost felt like not like destiny, but it felt like
yeah,
um, it was the right thing, like
yeah,
it
yeah,
was a natural outcome for your progression in the sport, I guess.
yeah. It almost felt like when I woke up the morning of, I felt like I already had the medal. I just had to
Yeah,
go out there and get it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I felt like and so then when I had it in my hands, I already felt like I'd had it
Well,
before I even won it.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm not very, superstitious or whatever, but I don't know. Sometimes you just wake up and you have a good feeling about something.
yeah, yeah.
The one thing I
Yeah,
will say, which I just wish my mum and dad and family and stuff were when they were in the stadium. I think, yeah, that's when I look back at it now. I'm like, it was cool. Obviously, you were in the stands and some other Kiwis, but just how I probably would have been crying way more if mum and dad and stuff were in the stands. But I
totally.
think it will. I really, yeah, I'm a bit gutted that they weren't there because it's not often that you get to win an Olympic medal, and I might have two more chances.
Yeah.
Well, I will have two more chances, but yeah, to not have them there was
Mm,
a little bit stink.
yeah. And I guess, they're part of your journey to that moment. So
Yeah,
it's natural that you'd want to share that.
100%.
Yeah, you'd want to share that with
Then I
them.
had to wait 2 weeks to even show up to them, and then I saw them for a day, and
Yeah,
now we're in. Yeah,
yeah.
so
So that
but I'm
actually
sure
kind of,
we'll celebrate at some stage.
yeah. I mean, that leads pretty nicely into the next question, which is really that, COVID obviously has presented
Mm,
a whole lot of challenges to all of the Olympians in their preparation. So I'm just kind of curious to know I guess maybe what are the key challenges that you've faced and how did you approach them? I've had some conversations with you and Angie
mm,
over there, and you
mm.
took an interesting approach in terms of your mindset. And
Yeah,
yeah, talk us through that a bit.
yeah. I think the hardest part with COVID for me was the fact that I don't know if people can watch the video, but usually in a year, you're peaking, and then you go down, you peak, you go down, and you're sort of riding a little wave of going up and down. But I found that the training just being like, the flat the whole time was really
Yeah.
hard. Like you didn't peak, but you didn't go down. You just sort of kept going,
Mm.
just coasting.
Yeah.
This felt like it was just going on forever, and we just hadn't competed for so long, and even
Mm.
comps at home, we tried our best, but they weren't the same as traveling and getting overseas and seeing everyone and having more high level competition. So that was the biggest challenge for me from COVID. But other than that, COVID actually, I think I did a good job of making the most of it, um, and yeah, making myself a better athlete through the whole experience.
Mm.
Obviously, with the decision and stuff with my coaching situation at the end of 2020 and all that that happened probably wouldn't have happened without COVID, or wouldn't have happened that at that time without COVID. So yeah, it's definitely a bit of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
That extra year, I think, was fine. It felt slow, but now that it's gone, it's went bloody quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only challenge for COVID, because I try and look at situations like this, um, and I've had a few things that I've had to overcome in my career, but just making the most of the situation and just focusing on what you can do,
Mm.
not on all the stuff you can't do, as hard as that can be sometimes.
Mm.
It's sort of my approach.
Is that something that is it like a decision that you make in a moment? I'm just going to, okay, this sucks.
Mm.
I can either wallow in this or I'm gonna move on and just deal with it, or is it
Mm.
just actually your kind of outlook on life generally?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it's happened over time. I still take time to grieve, and get upset about things. Because obviously you have to, and yeah, be like, man, this sucks that we can't go to the Olympics right now.
Mm.
Um, but then it's maybe like a 2 weeks, and then I'm like, oh well, just got to move on and um, just do my thing. I think that probably my knee surgery was the moment that switched for me.
Yeah.
Um, I was devastated when I hurt my knee, um, but then I realized, it's not all bad in there, and I got to do other things and just yeah, make the most of it and come back stronger. There's no,
Yeah.
yeah, it's. I definitely think there's time and place for wallowing, but you can't do it for too long. You've got to pick yourself up at some stage, and I reckon 2 weeks is a pretty good time frame. I don't know, two
It's
weeks
the
of just
formula.
yeah,
2 weeks
yeah,
of
formula
self
two
pity,
weeks, and
and then come on,
yeah,
wake
but
it up, buddy.
it's got to be pretty serious to have 2 weeks. Though, you can't just oh I broke my nail. I better have 2 weeks of self pity, and then I'll get back into it. So no, it's got to be something worthwhile.
Fair enough. Um, I'm always quite fascinated by I guess the processes that athletes go through, their own individual sort of tailored processes that they have before they compete, like right before they get off on the apparatus. Um,
Mm,
there's kind of like a ritual or a routine that a lot of athletes have, and you have one I know that's pretty well established. I'm
mm.
just curious. I mean, can you talk us through what that routine is, and and maybe how it gets you into that kind of sharp competitive mindset?
Yeah, so it pretty much starts with like uh, where we sit down with the athletes, and I just do a few stretches, um, get some activate, like just like get the body kind of fired up, and then when it's the person before me, will walk up and stand there, and then I'll do like a little bit of a stretch, and something else. Then when I'm walking to the tramp, yeah, I rub my ears. So that's just it's called an anchor. It's just something that you do so your body knows that it's game time, basically.
Mm,
And I've done that pretty much since 2009 World Championships when Angie was my coach back then.
yeah,
Um, and she used to rub my ears and give me a little head massage before I competed. And
yeah,
she'd read somewhere that rubbing your ears can actually stimulate your brain and increase like focus.
yeah. Wow.
Um, and I think, yeah, so obviously it's a bit weird now if she rubs my ears, so I do it myself.
You read my
And
mind.
yeah, and she didn't coach. She wasn't my coach for 7 years.
Yeah.
So I just sort of kept it going, and
Mm,
it's just my way of yeah, as you said, just dropping in because I think a lot of athletes they try and focus for like the whole time that they're competing, and when I say that, I mean like they're on the floor, they're on the comp floor. They're focused the whole time, not just when they're doing their thing on the apparatus or on the trampoline. And I think that's quite exhausting. So I'm just chill, just doing my thing. But then as soon as I do that, that's when like it's only like what as I'm walking to the trampoline, so I don't have to be switched on and focused, and I put all my energy on my routine.
yeah.
And then yeah, I walk up to the tramp, do my ears. I check if the tramp needs a pull. I'll give it a pull. Most of the time, I'll give it a pull, and then I stretch my shoulders, one side, the other side. Take it. I put my hands on the tramp. Close my eyes, take a deep breath, and breathe out, and just tell myself, basically, I say, how well can you do this routine, and then I just go calm, slow. Like I've got a few words that I use just to
Yeah.
make sure I'm focusing on keeping it nice and relaxed and calm and slow and purposeful. And then yeah, I'm jumping on the tramp and then just go.
Yeah. And do
Yeah,
you find now
that's
that
pretty
you've
much
been
it.
doing that sort of ritual for quite a long time that your level of activation and focus is pretty similar each time you do it? Obviously, you can't determine the outcomes, but
Mm,
in terms of how you
yeah.
feel before you compete, or is there still a little bit of flux there?
I think it's pretty dialed in. I think I've got it. going well, and I definitely feel like it puts me in a good place.
Mm.
Obviously, it's so hard to quantify,
Yeah.
and I'm sure if I didn't do it and I competed, I'd still probably compete quite well. But I don't know. It's just nice to have a consistent way of doing something
Yeah.
and not leave anything to the variables.
Yeah.
And I even have a jump routine now. Like I never used to, but I um, I used to just jump and then I'll just go when I felt like I was ready. But now, I'll go I'll do two little jumps in like the box behind the cross,
Yeah.
1, 2, and then on jump 3 I'll push, but I'll push without my arms up, and then on jump also I'll go 1, 2, then I'll go 1, 2, and then on 2 I'll put my arms up, and then I'll start jumping, do nice purposeful jumps,
Mm.
and I'll try and go on 6 or 7 or 8, and that was huge for me. And at the Olympics, you probably would have seen that I literally went off 6 jumps or like
Yeah.
5 jumps.
Yeah. Really quick.
Um, yeah, it's just getting started and not fluffing about with your jumps is something that I struggled with a lot when I was a junior. I used to just jump for ages,
Mm.
and it was just so bad.
Yeah.
Um, and then we had a conversation with someone at a campaign like knowledge share group thing, which are pretty bloody awesome. Where all our different sports come together and share
Yeah.
ideas, and it was actually from a Formula One talk where I got the idea. Um, Scott Dixon's team or something. He wasn't talking to us, but someone had gone into his team. I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but
That's all good.
um, and they were really trying to figure out why they weren't performing very well in their races, and they were just so technical. Like everything was so high level, or so focus on doing these things, but they didn't have their base right. They all the things, all the really really basic and easy things, they just sort of forgot about and just let them happen. Um, and that's sort of how I felt like with Tramp. I was so focused on the routine, and I
Mm.
forgot how important it is to actually get your jumps right, because
Yeah.
you got to get the jumps right.
Yeah.
So then I came up with the idea of actually having a routine before my routine.
Mm.
So I've got my routine on the floor, my Tramp routine, but then I didn't have a routine for the jumps. So I made a routine for my jumps. And coming back from my knee surgery, that my first competition, I tried it after my knee surgery, and it just clicked, and
Yeah.
it's been a game changer ever since.
Mm. Mm. Um, o- on I suppose the flip side of the routine, to get focused, is that sometimes it can become a crutch, in the sense that
Mm,
you have to go through a certain process, or you feel like you're going to
mm,
fail.
mm.
I mean,
Yeah,
you may not have. I mean, I imagine that you've had a situation where you've had to adapt because actually your jump routine
yeah,
just hasn't worked. Like, talk us
yeah,
through that a little
yeah.
bit.
Of course, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just a way to to take some variability out of it. Like obviously, the stuff I do on the floor is pretty much I can do it no matter what. It's just rubbing my ears and stretching my shoulders.
Yeah.
I'm always going to have time to do that before I compete. But yeah, jump. Sometimes my jumps are terrible, and I'm going off. I'm on 10, and I'm like, bloody hell, I'm on 10. Um, but but yeah, I don't worry about it. Because in my mind, it's more just a way of control, because there's so many variables when you're starting a routine, or with anything there's so many variables, so it's just trying to control as much as I can, and then put some structure in place, because I've found that now that I've done that, the times that I jump more
Mm.
are way less. Obviously, every now and then I'll jump and I'll stop, maybe, and I'll reset and start jumping again and go through it again. Or
Yeah.
sometimes I'll go off 9, sometimes I'll go off 11 jumps, but yeah, I'm not like, oh no, I've
Yeah.
gone past 6.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just, but more often than not, I find myself going on 6 to 8,
Yeah.
because I've got that system in place.
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, so I mean, you've been to Rio Olympics and Tokyo, and they would have been quite different experiences. Um, as you look forwards to Tokyo, um, sorry, to Tokyo, to Paris, you'll obviously be
yeah.
carrying those experiences with you. Is there something that maybe you've learnt from your Olympics both Rio and Tokyo, that you might look to adapt your program or your approach to as you build up for Paris, or is it pretty much done outside of that environment?
Yeah, I think it's hard because with with Tokyo, we didn't exactly do what we were planning because of COVID. So we had to improvise and adapt and make the best of a bad situation. And with Rio, we learned a lot because we were definitely there for too long before I competed, and we didn't want to do that again. So, and that was a big driver, and not for me anyway, not going on a big trip before Olympics, because it just wears you out. And as nice as it would have been to compete at lots of World Cups, the focus was on Olympics and performing at the Olympics, which is what I did. And I'm glad that I did that because I think, if I did a big trip, it would have just been exhausting. So yeah, I think in terms of planning, it's really I've got a pretty good like idea of how I want to lead into competitions and what works for me, which is generally a 7 to 8 day lead in when it's a big time zone difference. I need about 8 days is a good amount of time to sort of slowly ease into it and get used to the time zone. So I think with Paris, it's just a matter of we'll do what we always do, and but we're quite flexible. I'm quite flexible. I'm not set on one thing. We'll look at a plan and when closer to the time and see what works and see what comps are on around it and what we have to do. But I think the general structure I have is pretty set in stone. I like to do, like pretty methodical lead in.
Yeah. Slight step sideways here for the next question. Olympians are often held up as kind of these icons of strength and invincibility, and but as you've even alluded to in this conversation, there's very human experiences that happen in that high performance space, and I think it's important, where possible, to tell kind of the full narrative, the other side of the story, so that young people who are involved in competitive sport are also aware that having negative experiences and having times of weakness and vulnerability are really normal. I wonder if there's like a pressure point for you that you're aware of, that you have to be wrap support around yourself on, that you'd feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, I think you did right on that. We are not special people. We are just people, and life is difficult and things are challenging. And there are many times that I've felt overwhelmed and just fed up with with uh, with something, and you just get a bit I get really closed. But I think I've learned, and I've been very lucky that I've got an amazing team of people that understand, I guess, what it's like, and just believe me if I say something. Got a lot of trust, because I think that's something that's quite important. Is sometimes you've got to have people that genuinely believe you when you're telling them that you're just not doing it so well. So yeah, my team is awesome. Like my high performance team, my life advisor is someone I go to a lot. I'm very lucky to have someone like that to talk to. It's outside family, someone that I can trust, that won't disclose anything to anyone. If I say something, but then I've also obviously got my family who I turn to and talk to a lot. And then obviously my partner Melissa is someone that probably knows me better than I know myself, and it's important to utilize the people in your life, but realize that if you haven't before, that it might be it's scary at the start to open up. I found it really, really hard because I just who I was. I've definitely changed a lot. But you soon realize that when you do, people appreciate it and people want to help and people are going to be there for you because even if you think they won't, honestly, they go through. Everyone has gone through something or has, well, has had tough times. So, the more you learn to talk as much as you can, like you don't really have to go crazy on it, but little things and you'll realize that it makes you feel a lot better and it's quite nice. It's quite nice. It's hard to deal with things on like no one can go through life alone. You've got to have people around you, and otherwise it's just you won't enjoy it. So, and then feeding off ideas as well, and like people make you sort of realize maybe give you a different perspective and make you realize that maybe you're overreacting or maybe they can just steer you in a different way of thinking.
I think that's really good advice, particularly I think for it's a generalization, but particularly for young men. There's a cultural stereotype that the idea of speaking up and sharing and being vulnerable pushes back against. So I think it's a powerful message to have someone who really has to be tough and has to be strong and has to be kind of firing on all cylinders to do what you do. Also, recognize the value of support in the process of doing that. That's pretty important.
And then I think maybe, well, just one other thing I'll add to that is have something that takes you away from normal life. I think that's important. It's hard. I mean, it's easy in New Zealand, I reckon, because you just go for a hike or go swimming at a waterhole or go surfing or go fishing, or for me, it's hunting. Something that takes you away from your normal life, lets you recharge and reset. I think is super important. I can't count how many times I've just been overworked and tired and sore and just sick of meeting people and having like coffee catch ups and just like. And then I just go, oh, I love a good coffee catch up, but sometimes it's too many, But then I'll just go for an overnight hunt. I'll drive down somewhere, with my dog and get in the bush for a day, and just makes you feel, and you're just away from people. Well, for me, it's being away from people and being on my own. But it just sort of makes me feel a lot better coming back into the real world, even if it's only been an overnight hunt in the bush. But coming back, I just feel ready to do other things and ready to get on with it. Sometimes you can sort of get stuck in your routine and just doing the same thing day by day, and it can be you can wear yourself out. And that's part of the issue as well. It's just not getting worn out and doing the same thing and getting stuck in your daily patterns.
I think that's really smart. Is that something that you you would have an awareness of when you need to get out of that routine? Is it something that you plan as a course when you're looking at your year, going, okay, I've got to do this and I've got to do 16 weeks of preparation and then do the event, and then I need to go away for 3 or 4 days before I even can think about going into the next push? Or is it just as
I'm
it
not like
comes up?
I like to plan like my year, and I'll plan in a few big hunts. Like I'm going hunting during the raw. So I want to block off some time there to make sure I get out a couple times, but then it's just hard to know how you're going to feel like in
Yeah.
6 months' time. So I like plans, but I'll just talk to Angie or whatever and just say, look, I think I just need to get out have a Saturday off training and just
Yeah.
go. It's more just I very much live my life sort of, I don't know, I hate saying like in the flow, but like just
Mm.
whatever comes, I'll just however I'm feeling in the moment, I'll just I know what I need, like I
Yeah.
know when I'm overdone it or
Mm.
when I need a bit of a break.
Yeah, and so it sounds like from what you're saying, it's a bit of both, right? So you have a few
Yeah,
moments
a
of
little
the
bit of
year
both.
that you plan away, and then the rest is done on a, um, you know, situation by situation
Situation,
approach. And
and obviously you've got to be sensible about it,
yeah, the day before you
and
compete,
not
maybe not
be
such a
like,
good
oh.
idea to go hunting.
Yeah, but I think I went out 3 or 4 weeks before we left for Japan.
Yeah,
But I went to a spot where it was just a cruisy walk in,
yeah,
only a couple K. Um, I went for just the evening and walked out the next day at midday.
mm,
Um, and didn't shoot anything, just
yeah,
saw a couple there and walked out. But yeah,
mm,
I didn't go on a massive bloody, mission.
yeah, yeah.
So
And I think,
it was just a mental thing more than
yeah,
anything.
look, I think what you're saying is really important actually for support staff, coaches to hear because
Yeah,
um, there is a fear, I know, particularly within artistic gymnastics. You miss a training session, you miss so many reps, you miss so much opportunity to become consistent in competition. But if the opposite of that is you go to training and you are flat and low mood and you don't get the most out of it, then
yeah,
actually you're better off taking the
mm,
time, recharging, and then having a gymnast come back into the gym that's really excited to be there and engaged because they took that short period of time out. And yeah,
yeah,
potentially there needs to be um, a better sensitivity to that in the community.
yeah. I 100% agree, and I think yeah, it's there's a balance because you can obviously go too far one way, um, and then it will affect your training. But my philosophy for the last 6 months of training which is what I'd been, I guess, searching for or wanting
Mm,
for, yeah, what I've been wanting for a while was just making sure that I wasn't just training for the sake of training, and I was actually getting something out of every session. And what that boiled down to was just having a purpose for every single session
mm,
and feeling like I'm achieving something. And that's actually quite challenging I don't know how many sessions we do a year. Artistic gymnasts probably train more than me. Um, but just actually feeling like you're not just going into the gym and going through the
because you have
motions
to. Yeah.
because you have to.
Mm,
And if that meant, only training 5 days a week and not training 8 days, sorry, you know, 8 sessions a week, if that meant training 5 sessions, those 5 sessions were money sessions, like I was getting a lot out of them instead of having 8 sessions a week and maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them were just
mm,
like average. Um, but I'd train usually 6 days a week. I'd train Monday to Friday,
yeah.
once a day, and then if I felt like I needed it, I'd train on a Saturday. And most of the time, if I wasn't doing something else, I'd feel like I wanted to go in because it was
Yeah.
my choice
Yeah.
instead of having to go on it.
Mm,
Um, and then I could actually work on things that I wanted to work on and just have like a nice, you know, more relaxed session. And actually, I don't know, it's something that I really, really think was a huge factor in and why my build up for Tokyo
mm,
was so good was that. And I think there's a time when you're a younger athlete when maybe you have to push through um, and get the numbers done. But once you've sort of got to the point in your career where I'm at now, numbers don't. I mean, numbers matter, but time and a place where they matter,
Mm.
and it's more important, I think, to train smart. I think everything the whole the train smarter, not harder. But
Yeah,
I'm still training hard, but training smart as well, and recovering better, and yeah, just yeah. I think it's hard though because you got to be careful when I say this because I'm in a different stage in my career
yeah,
than a 12 or 13-year-old athlete who might need to actually get in there and grind a bit harder. But I've
yeah,
done that grind, I've grinded my whole life. So once you get older, I think, and you sort of at a certain level. I don't know. It's hard to
mm,
quantify what level that is,
yeah,
but
yeah.
there's definitely a period in your career where you need to slow down and think about what you're doing a bit more.
Mm,
And I think Misha's done that really well, obviously.
yeah. Yeah, and I think I mean what I hear you saying is that um, owning your training and the purpose and
Yeah.
the reason for going into the gym is really important in terms of the value you get out of that training session. And I think
Mhm.
you're right that when you're younger, you need to learn how to train hard and you need to learn where the
Yeah.
boundaries are. So sometimes you push too hard, sometimes you don't push enough, and that's where your coaches are really important to help,
Yeah.
provide that framework. But as you're older and you understand your body's limits more, and also there's all the other pressures in life that you don't have as a kid that impact the way that you train, then getting quality training is way more important than just flogging a dead horse just because it says in some textbook somewhere
Yeah.
that's what you should do to become an Olympian.
Yeah. And I think like when me and Angie would sit down every Monday and figure out our purpose for the week because we had a purpose for the week and then we'd sort of have little purposes for each day.
Yeah.
Like one week we just had so many things we were working on, and she's like asked me, what is your purpose for this week? And I was like, honestly, my purpose this week is to not have a purpose. And it
Nice.
was like because like, and then it was quite nice, and we managed that up and down, and because sometimes it is nice to
Have fun.
just just to train and have fun.
Mm,
But when it's mixed in with a lot of competitive um, load, like we were doing a lot of technique stuff and trying to change this and trying to get this better, and it was really mentally like draining,
mm,
just trying to do all this stuff to be better, and actually to striving to be better, not just training, like actually, you know, really, really looking at my technique and going, well, we needed that. What would make this better and stuff like that. So it was like
mm,
doing all these changes, and then it was like quite tiring.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, this week we're just going to train. And I'm like,
yeah.
me. So there's a time and a place to
Nice.
just train as well.
Yeah.
But it's like, you've just got to find that balance. And I think um, I'm just so lucky that Angie's on the same wavelength with me. But you can make a plan like for the next 6 months. But I think a weekly debrief is actually, for me anyway, is so important because,
Mm,
as I said before, like you don't know how you're going to feel. And like you might have like an easy week, but it might you might feel you're physically tired. So then the next week you just you figure it out week by week.
mm,
For me anyway, that's what worked.
yeah. Oh, I think that's a great idea, and uh, for coaches to check in with their athletes and athletes to communicate to their coaches
Mm.
about where they're at and what's going on, and if there can be, I guess, trust built up in that communication, and that
Yeah,
you're really honest about where you're at. You're not just trying to get out of training,
yeah,
um,
yeah, for
and
sure.
vice
And I think
versa.
it's still important. Yeah, it's still important to have that big overarching plan where
Sure.
you write down these are what we want to achieve in this month, this month, this month, this month, this
Yeah.
month, and like, hey, then you sort of the way you get to those um, achievements and goals will look different depending on how you feel and
Mm,
as the weeks go on. But it was weird. Like we would always set the purpose for the month or the whatever, and we'd always just hit it. It just kind of would happen and be
right.
like, It was never difficult. It was never hard. It just seemed to just fall into place.
Mm.
And I think because we were so fluid and so like flexible, but still had that kind of idea of where we wanted to go.
Mm.
It just kind of the tracks were just kind of like laying out for us.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was quite spooky actually, a little bit spooky.
You might start to become superstitious after that, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, final question, just to wrap things up. So obviously, everybody is still, well, in Auckland anyway, still in lockdown, and even all the level three
Mm.
team around the rest of the country are not able to be in the gym.
Not, not a lot
You,
much, not much better at level three.
no, exactly. Any tips or tricks to surviving lockdown in your world, or that you want to share?
Yeah, find a family friend that you've had since you were 10 who has a really nice farm on a beach and go there.
I wish I'd
Nah,
thought of that. Dang it.
yeah, yeah, you got to put in the groundwork. Um,
Right.
no, I'm very lucky to have the
Very good
friends,
strategy.
have the family as my it's basically my second family. So I'm not just bludging off them. I'm doing my bit. I'm working for them, and I'm doing cooking food. Cooked green curry the other night for everyone.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
bit spicy for the girls, but the lads liked it. So, um, but no, seriously, advice would be uh, sort of what I said earlier is take the opportunity to work on things. Maybe you've got weaknesses that you need to do, like that. Maybe your toe's not very flexible, or something stupid like that. But something that you think you just never put any time into because you're not very good at it and you don't like it, and it's just kind of like you always just put it off.
Yeah.
You've got the time now. Don't give me that bloody excuse that you got no time because there's plenty of time.
Hate that
More
excuse.
there's a lot, yeah, more time in lockdown than you'll ever have in your life to do something and to make you a better athlete if that's who you are. Obviously, most people listening is probably going to be athletes. So on top of your stretching, your strength, whatever you can um, do those little one percenters to get you back. And when you get back to the gym, you'll be better and stronger. And have that as a goal, to be able to come back stronger than you were. That was my goal through my knee surgery, which was pretty much a lockdown in itself. I couldn't really walk
Yeah.
for like 6 weeks, so I was pretty much locked down for 6 weeks with my leg like straight, couldn't bend it, and that was what I told myself. I told myself I'm going to be better than I was before I came into this. So yeah, I think that setting goals, having having that as your mindset, and then you'll find yourself getting up early and going for runs, maybe not runs, but doing something. You'll find yourself just get motivated if you have a serious and if you're really passionate about it and you really want it, you'll find yourself just doing more.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to do nothing in lockdown.
Mm.
I know it's hard. It's easy just to sit down and let the day go by. Days go fairly quick when you're sometimes when you're not doing a whole lot. But yeah, that would be my advice.
Good advice, I think. Um, I know you're not having parties in lockdown because that's not allowed, Dylan.
No, no parties.
But if you
Uh,
were to go to a party, what's your party trick? Do you have one?
oh,
Come on, I've given you
my
like
party trick.
half an hour to think of one. Dylan doesn't go to parties.
Um,
He's a serious athlete.
I don't even know. Like, I don't have a party trick. I can pretty much open a beer can with a beer bottle with anything.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you very much for giving us your time. You've actually given us heaps of time, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's all
Hopefully,
right.
hopefully
All good.
the lockdown doesn't continue too much longer, and you can get back into the gym.
It would be nice to train before Worlds. That would be ideal. Yeah.
All right. All the best.
Cool. Cheers, David.